here's what I don't understand about the President's Cup versus
Okay.
the Ryder Cup. So, are you familiar with the President's Cup?
No.
Ryder
Still
Cup?
say no. Ryder Cup, barely. I
So-
kind of like they pick certain players to play
So
for
the Ryder Cup
right?
is the U.S. versus
versus-
Europe.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like
The
Europe,
President's Cup.
U.S., Europe, and other places.
The President's Cup is U.S. versus international, so the rest of the world, not Europe.
Okay.
So I don't understand this. Okay, so the U.S. gets to play every year. The rest of the international players are shut out, and they don't get to play in every other year because the Ryder Cup's only Europe, and the President's Cup is the rest of the world.
Okay.
I don't understand this, particularly because the Ryder Cup is so much more popular than the President's Cup.
President's Cup. Yeah. You
So
think?
all of the big-time international players, I think of someone like Ernie Els,
Yeah. You
So
think
Hall of
President's
Famer.
Cup would be higher up there, right?
but it's
Everybody.
not. But I think of someone like Ernie Els, who's a Hall of Famer,
Mhm.
right? 4-time major champion. Besides Phil Mickelson, was the only real challenger to Tiger Woods during his reign,
yeah.
right? Great player, amazing player, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Never got to play in a Ryder Cup, which is a huge event. Never got to play
Yeah.
because he's not allowed to. Why? Because he's from South Africa. And only Europeans can play,
Mhm.
and Americans, of
Yeah,
course, can
yeah.
play in the Ryder Cup. I don't understand this. I don't really get it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Like, why? Why? Does that make sense to you?
ESPN are asking you. I don't.
Does that?
fucking
But
know.
does that make
it
sense to you?
doesn't, no,
Someone like
no.
Ernie fucking
Yeah,
Els,
yeah.
okay,
No,
was
it
not
doesn't.
allowed to play in the
Yeah.
Ryder Cup because of where he's from.
Where it's from? Yeah.
And the Ryder Cup is a monstrous event.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It is.
It's
yeah.
huge.
It is.
And Ernie Els was like,
Is it-
"Sorry, you can't play in
Is
it.
it? Is it?
You're the second or third best player in the world, but no, we don't want
do
you."
they play at the same course every year, or is
No,
it a different
it
course?
rotates. It rotates around. Yeah.
Okay.
So it goes all over.
Yeah.
But to me, I always found that weird. But in golf, I just kind of accepted it. It's like, oh yeah, no one cares. It's just kind of like, whatever, it's cool. So Rory McIlroy
Yeah.
can't play in the President's Cup.
Oh yeah.
No one cares because
yeah.
the President's Cup doesn't have near the cachet that the Ryder Cup does, and he plays in the Ryder Cup, and that's where he gets all of his.
Yeah.
attention. As far as
yeah.
team events
Yeah.
are concerned.
Exactly.
But it's just kind of weird that Rory fucking McIlroy cannot play in the President's Cup.
It's kind of weird.
But to me, the biggest one is the players that can play in the President's Cup: Jason Day, Ernie Els, Adam Scott, all of these amazing, Greg fucking Norman, all of these guys that were amazing players can't play in the Ryder Cup because they're not from fucking Europe. I don't get it, or the U.S. for that matter. But the U.S. can play in every one.
Everyone, yeah.
So
everyone.
Phil and Tiger could play in every fucking
Ryder Cup, President's Cup, anything.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Who's the top player now?
Scheffler?
Yeah,
or-
Scotty Scheffler can play in both the Ryder and
I don't
the
even
President's.
know. I don't even know.
Scotty,
golf too
well, you
much,
got it.
but-
Scotty Scheffler. I want to say Xander Schauffele
Yeah.
because to me their names are so close, but they're really not. Their first names are far
Yeah.
apart, but their last names are close. But Scotty Scheffler can play in both of them.
Yeah.
And there's players that can't. Like, it just doesn't really make sense to me that we're just kind of okay with that. A guy like, again, the guys that play in the Ryder Cup don't give a fuck about the President's Cup. They're like, whatever, we'll take this fall off. We'll play next year in the Ryder Cup. But the guys that were great players that had to sit on their fucking couch and watch the Ryder Cup go on and watch how much attention it gets and watch the fans and watch the players go crazy and like because the Ryder Cup is one of the rowdiest events because it's not as buttoned up as the PGA Tour or the majors.
Yeah.
So Ernie Els can't play in a fucking Ryder Cup. I don't get it. Like he's the guy's one of the best players of his generation, and he's like, and they're just like, nah, you can't play here because you're not from Europe. It's like, I don't get it. Like, it always kind of bugged me. It's like, and they're like, so, but then the President's Cup comes along, and it's like, oh, Ernie Els can play in this, but nobody's watching. Nobody cares. Like, even the President's Cup, like I mentioned, now U.S. won the President's Cup. You're like, oh, cool.
Who won the Riders?
That's next year.
That's next year.
All
All right.
And by the way, none of the players that played in the President's Cup on the international side will be able to play in the Riders' Cup next year.
Yeah.
You got to be from Europe. I don't really understand it.
It's kind of weird.
Why
It's
wouldn't it
different.
just be?
It's different
Why wouldn't it just be the U.S. versus the international every year?
every year.
The Ryder
Why
Cup
not?
can still have its cachet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it would be diminished that much. I know the European countries that get super passionate about the Ryder Cup. Like, I think they would still be all about it. Like, I don't think it would be diminished.
No. Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe that's their idea. It's like if we all of a sudden took all the international players, it would be watered down. Maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know. But it's just kind of weird to me that the international players get the shitty one, the President's Cup, the one that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
But the European players get the Ryder Cup, which everybody's all about. You'll see it on fucking PTI all over ESPN.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it
Exactly. All the time.
President's Cup is kind of like an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, this happened, by the way.
I guess.
Weird.